So we are going to go ahead and have the hearing. I just want to go over a few things before we begin. This is actually the first petition filed, is case number petition 19 on the calendar, 23 PO 5137, Lakia Clark versus Samaria and Wynn. The family violence petition was filed on May 30th of this year. An ex parte order was issued on June 1st of this year and filed on June 2nd. And service was accomplished by law enforcement on June 2nd of this year. Ms. Wynn filed a cross or counter petition in position 24 on the calendar, which is 23 PO 5420, Samaria Wynn versus Lakia Clark. That petition was filed on June 8th of this year, and the amended ex parte order was filed on June 15th of this year. And there has been no formal service. Both parties are present, so we will proceed. And I will hear from the parties because Ms. Clark filed first. I will give her the opportunity, and hers was served and issued first. So I will give her the opportunity to go first. But both parties have for each petition has the burden to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that acts of family violence have been committed, and there's a reasonable likelihood of future acts of family violence will be committed without the order being in place. There won't be any direct back and forth between the parties. I will allow Ms. Clark to testify first. Any questions, once she's done testifying and presenting any evidence, any questions that Ms. Wynn has, you may ask them to me if you have any specific factual questions about what she's testified to. The questioning time is not a time to testify or say you disagree with, but to ask questions and get answers. Then you will have a chance to testify fully if you wish to, and tell the court what you would like the court to know about the allegations that have been made. And you'll be able to tell the court why you filed, and why you are seeking an order of protection. And then she will have a chance to ask questions through me of you, Ms. Wynn. And so once all the parties have testified and I've heard all the evidence, I will make a determination as to whether legally under the law there has been enough evidence by preponderance of the evidence that acts of family violence have been committed by either party, and that there's a reasonable likelihood of future acts of family violence being committed by either party, and whether I will issue an order. If you would both unmute, please, and then raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? Ms. Clark?
I do.
Ms. Wynn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ms. Clark, can you please tell me your name, full name?
Lakia Tyshawn Clark.
All right. And how old are you, ma'am?
36.
And how do you know Miss Wynn?
I rented a room to her on May 1st.
So did you know her before May 1st?
No.
And I need to ask this question before we go any further. I meant to ask earlier. Have either party been arrested for any of the alleged acts going on?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So you did not know each other before May 1st. You rented a room to her. How many people are in the home where you were at?
Myself and her.
Okay. And who's on the lease or owns the property?
I am renting the home.
Okay, so you're
on the lease alone.
All right, and who's on the utilities?
I am on the utilities alone.
All right. Okay, so all right. So what happened to prompt you to file for this order of protection?
Mrs. Wynn kicked me down the steps as I was coming down the steps from my behind. She made a perfect land in between my buttocks. I went flying down the steps. We got into a physical fight all through the living room, through the hallway. I had to run out of my house and go to the neighbors to call the police. She
Okay.
then,
Hold on, let me ask you something. So what was
Okay.
going on before the physical started?
this started, it's really my fault because she did not have any furniture, and I did not want her to sleep on the floor. So I lent her my air mattress. After 2 weeks of lending her my air mattress, I asked for it back because I didn't want holes in it and I wanted it to be for my guests. And she's mad because I took the air mattress back, and that's how it started.
Okay, so there was an argument. And when you got kicked, were the stairs inside the apartment or outside the apartment?
Inside of a home.
Okay. And where and how did you land?
She kicked me in between my buttocks, made a perfect right in the middle. I went flopping down the stairs and I landed on, I guess you could say, my back behind or back side of me onto the floor at the bottom of the steps.
All right, hold on. We lost Miss Wynn's video. Miss Wynn, you got to come back on camera. Okay, thank you. All right, so, and were you injured at all from that?
Yes. I actually had just got done with chemotherapy. So the day I get chemotherapy till about a week, I'm always sore and my bones are sore. So when I hit the ground, the bottom of my back, as well as in between my buttocks. Then after the fight, she was holding me down, pulling my hair. So yes, I did have some soreness and some injuries.
So when you ran out to call the police, where did you go to?
My neighbor.
Is it your next door neighbor?
Yes.
Okay. And what were you wearing at the time that you ran out?
I was wearing some socks, shorts are tight, and a t-shirt, house clothes.
Okay. And whose phone did you use to call 911?
My neighbor. My neighbor actually called for me. I didn't use their phone. They called first, and then once she left, she had taken my phone. So we were trying to track it, and where she had it at up the street, we tried to go and look for it, me and my neighbor, in the midst of the police had already been called and we were waiting on them, but they were taking a while.
Okay. And what happened when the police got there?
When they got there, he pretty much said, I told him that she had my phone and what had happened. Before they got there, she came back to the house. And when she came back to the house, then the police came after that. She left. She came back with my phone. In the midst of her leaving, he said that he did not see her take the phone. There was nothing that he could do. And she wasn't there as far as the physical fight. When she returned, he asked her, where's her phone at? She handed him the phone. He said, what are you doing with her phone? Why are you driving around with her phone? And I believe she replied that she accidentally grabbed both of our phones after the fight.
Okay.
When she ended up fleeing the house because I ran out to call the police. She gave him back the phone, and he said basically that she said that I had attacked her. So we're both saying the same thing. So there was nothing that he could do. And that one person needed to leave the house, in which I started getting my things together to leave the house that night.
Okay. The neighbor who called the police, did she, or do you know if she heard anything?
I don't think she heard anything, no.
Okay.
This was inside of the house.
Okay. Had there been any issues of violence or threats of violence before then?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell me what those are?
Every time I come out of my room, because I actually put locks on my room door so I could lock myself into my room. Every time she hears me come out of my room, she shoulders me really hard. with us both walking down the hallway, shouldering me. I have a video of her saying something about shooting. She's definitely said that's how people get shot up. I want to violate you. Getting in my face. And just basically lingering around the house when I have company, going in their face, taking pictures of them. They don't even know what's going on. They're here to visit me. She's taking pictures and recording them. Yeah.
So have any of these things that you're saying that she would do to you, such as the shoulder shoving or the threats of violence or mentioning shooting, placed you in fear for your safety?
Fear for my life, yes. And also with the things that I've found out about her since she's left, I'm definitely in fear for my life.
Okay. We can't necessarily go into that today. I'm just going to be talking about violence alleged by her to you.
Okay.
All right. So, okay. All right.
I have a port in my chest, Judge. I cannot be fighting or doing any of that. That's up to my main artery. Right now, with what I'm battling, I cannot afford to put my body in any more stress than what it is.
Okay. Have you filed a dispossessory or anything for an eviction?
No, I did not file the eviction. I had on the 16th given her a notice to vacate because the lease that we signed together, the room rental agreement, was month to month with a 30-day written notice to vacate. I did give that to her on May 16th.
And after that incident, were there any incidents or threats or violence?
Just a lot of provoking, just a lot of staring, a lot of taking pictures, recording, coming in and out every time she hears somebody move, just being a nuisance, and trying to provoke something, trying to build a case with the pictures, the text, and all of that type of stuff.
After she was served, did you have any communication from her?
No. Does
she have any remaining items at the apartment?
Yes.
What are those?
Lots of just stuff around the room.
Is it all in that room?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want the court to know about the allegations at this time in your petition?
Yes. When I say she would do little things, I know that this is just being a bad tenant, but she would literally go and put sauce in the refrigerator, spread it around. She know there's no trash bag. We talked about putting trash in the trash bag, so she fills up the trash can basically.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask that you focus on threats of violence or violence for stalking behavior. Bad housemate behavior, which does sometimes overlap with family violence, is not evidence of family violence and would be more appropriate for an eviction or a dispossessory process. Okay.
Okay. As well as I Googled her name right before she moved in, she was arrested.
So we can't get into any of that unless it's something you have personal knowledge of and were present for.
Okay.
Okay. Or something she said to you that relates to the violence.
Okay. Well, she definitely said something about her mental health to the EMS that she called. She has a mental health problem and they kept asking me and I wondered why. And she does have a mental health issue.
When was EMS called?
Yes. She called the police over 10 times. She would just call the police every day, 5 times a day, just to my house, calling EMS, saying she was attacked. They're like, ma'am, show us where you're attacked. She can't show them anything. So now they're like, okay, well, they start going into her mental health. And so then they're in the living room and they're trying to, I don't know what they're doing to her. She is personally asked me to put testosterone in her leg. She's trying to change over into a gentleman.
Okay, so we don't need to get into all of that for purposes of violence or threats of violence.
Well, I think it has something to do with her mental. She's on steroids,
Okay,
which
All
is,
right.
makes people attack people.
okay. Anything else you want the court to know at this point?
Let me see. Just that afterwards, she tried to retaliate on me by filing a $15,000 lawsuit against me.
And was that here in DeKalb County?
Yes. And I was just served with that yesterday, and I have, I believe, 21 days or something to respond.
Okay. All right. Okay, ma'am. Just one moment. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of announcements briefly. So I'm going to place you on the waiting room, then we'll bring you back in and we'll let Miss Wynn question Miss Clark through me.
Being admitted to hospital, also knowing me prior to May 1st.
Wait, so hold on a second. This is not the time for you to testify. You will have that time in just a moment. This is the time to ask specific questions about what she testified to her. So do you have a question you want me to ask, or you just want to testify yourself?
Do I have specific questions, like a cross-examination type of questioning?
Yes.
I mean, you can ask her if she lied. I kind of toned out a little bit because she was lying in her statement.
Okay, so hold on. So asking her if she lied is not really an appropriate question. This is more a question to ask about any facts testified to. So it has to be kind of fact specific. Otherwise, you will have a chance to testify yourself, as well as have a chance to at the end in argument.
Okay, you can ask her if she knew me. You did ask her if she knew me prior to May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
You can then say, how was I able to stay there in April, and also meet with the gentleman who's probably in the car with her now, because there's frequent guests at the house, which she uses as bodyguards, or she tries to use them as intimidating factors.
Okay, hold on. This isn't the time to test this. Let me ask this question first. So, Miss Clark, you said you testified that you didn't know her before May 1st, but did she stay with you in April?
No, I did not know her before May the 1st. We have this is the agreement. We went to the bank and had it notarized. It has a seal on it.
What day did you do that?
This was done on May the 1st. Now,
let me ask you something. Mm-hmm. So you did that the day you met her?
No, we did meet the day before, or maybe 2 days before, but that was it. I did not know her.
How long have you known of her?
I can go on my phone and see the day when we first started talking.
Okay, so just approximately when was that?
Let me look at the calendar. Hold on one second. So she came to look at the room on the 19th of April, but I went out of town to Vegas. So I actually met her on the 19th, the day before I went to Vegas. But
how did y'all get in touch?
We met through Craigslist.
Okay, that's good.
Yes. So it was an initial meeting at first. Yes, I had forgotten about that. There was an initial meeting. but this lease and everything came into fruition on the 1st because it had been a couple of days and I needed to go out of town first.
Okay. So Miss Nguyen, she now says that there were some interactions between y'all prior to May 1st.
But I didn't know
She
her.
said you did not stay there. So, do you have any questions, any more questions before you testify? If you choose to.
Thank you, Your Honor. That was a great cross-examination to show that she is not exact on her facts that she's giving. Also, she had asked me to stay, and when she asked me to stay, was she intoxicated and trying to sleep with me when she first met me?
Okay, I'm not sure how this is relevant to acts of family violence that you may have committed by her or her by you to you. Can you tell me that?
Okay, because once she had confided in me that she was a breast cancer survivor, she said that she wanted to do business and she wanted to know more about me because my mom also was a breast cancer survivor, and I've lost people I knew of from breast cancer, and I've done a lot of voluntary work as far as making wigs and doing makeup. And she was just saying like she wanted my services and wanted my help, and she saw that I was a good person, and she was asking me for gas and
Okay, so
asking
hold
me
on a
to
second,
help her
hold on a
with her.
second, hold on. So this is getting more into testimony. Do you just want to testify and let the court know what you want me to know about the allegations that she's made and as well as about the allegations that you're making?
I believe for the cross-examination, partially, Your Honor, if you do have a set time for me to testify, then I can go ahead and hold those questions. If you want to.
No, so there's not a set time, but the reason I'm saying that is because what you're doing is not asking a question, but testifying already. And so you can just testify if that's what you choose to do, or you can ask a very specific question.
I understand, Your Honor. Okay, did she act in a very discriminating and abusive manner, regardless of my sexual orientation or my race? Did she harass me for being a mixed race individual, saying that I wasn't Black enough? And has she been harassing and stalking me? Has she also been she
Okay, hold on. Too many questions. Let me start with the first question, because those are, and I know this is not, y'all are not attorneys and it's difficult in these situations. That would be called a compound question. So we can only ask one thing at a time. So, ma'am, the first question appears to be, did you act in a discriminatory, abusive, and harassing nature towards her regarding her sexual orientation and ethnicity?
No. As far as I'm concerned, we're the same ethnicity, and if I would have been acting discriminatory, she would not have been able to rent the room.
Okay. All right. And then you had a follow-up question, Ms. Nguyen?
My follow-up question was when I had been non-confrontational, I didn't put my hands on her. The incidents of shoving and the aggressive nature, was Miss Lakia Clark provoking these things? Was she initiating this physical aggression and contact with me?
Okay, Miss Clark, all the incidents where you alleged Miss Nguyen shoved and physically came into contact with you, did you provoke those incidents?
No. Did we get in arguments throughout at the beginning of May? Yes, we did. But did I put my hands on anybody? Did I shove anybody? Did I shoulder anybody? No. Did I call her peculiar and all these things that she wrote in this lawsuit that she's trying to get $15,000 for? Of course, because she is peculiar.
Okay, well, that lawsuit is not what we're here for today. We're here today about acts of family violence by one towards the other that I have to determine by preponderance of the evidence.
So no, I didn't provoke her into putting her hands on me. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Nguyen?
Your Honor, yes. May you also ask Ms. Clark, did she act in a predatory nature in regards to my finances, in regards to my obligations within the house, that I also, and not to make it a compound, but I did comply. I was to myself. She had mentioned I was in the home. She wanted me to be with her. She wanted me to go on dates with her. She wanted me to.
Okay, hold on. Now we're testifying again. So
Okay.
did you act, Ms. Clark, did you act in a predatory nature with Ms. Nguyen towards her regarding her finances?
For someone that accused her own ex-husband as molesting her daughter, no.
Okay, we're not going to
Ms.
get
Nguyen-
into that
Okay.
because that's not before this court.
Okay.
All right.
Well, the answer is no. She likes females. I like males.
Okay. All right, Ms. Nguyen.
I would also ask the petitioner in this case and the respondent in my case. Again, she did she used to be an adult dancer and own adult toys and try to put offer these things or services to me in a
So
very.
whether she was an adult dancer before is not relevant to whether there's been acts of family violence committed. You're saying that she has come on to you multiple times. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Have you ever come on to her sexually? And I'm still not sure that this is relevant to acts of family violence, but have you ever come
No,
on to her
I'm
sexually?
not in any
Ms.
way
Clark?
attracted to her at all. No.
Okay. All right. Any more questions, Ms. Nguyen, before you are given a chance to testify?
Lastly, yes, Your Honor. I would like to ask Ms. Clark, did she stage a lot of the evidence that she is preparing to the court, as far as deleting the messages where she was calling me out of my name, demanding things to be done, which I hadn't done, basically to be like her and like her servant in the home. Also, I know it's acts of family violence, but she was loudly masturbating, trying to like push me into like her sexual abyss, you know. And also, did she threaten me for calling the police, like once they would leave, saying that she was on probation, and things that would interfere with the law enforcement doing their job?
Okay, so all of that was more testimony than a question. I will ask the final one the one that you just ended with. Madam, Ms. Clark, did you threaten the police and interfere with them doing their job when they were called?
No, the police came to our house over 11 times in 2 weeks. They never arrested her or myself. No, no, not at all. Not at all.
Okay. All right, Ms. Nguyen, any more questions or testimony?
OMG, I have 4%
Hold on, this is
on
for
my
Ms.
phone.
What did you say, Ms. Clark?
I said I have 4%. Hold on, I'm gonna try to get to I had 100% on my phone earlier.
Okay.
The Zoom has just ran my phone down. Hold on 1 second. I got a charger, but it's a what's the name charger? I'm right here by an outlet. I'm just gonna try to get to that outlet really quick.
Okay.
Just 1 second, I'm sorry.
All right, and then Ms. Clark, if you could just get somewhere where you are stationary.
Yes, sorry.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So Ms. Nguyen, did you have any more questions at this point?
1%, everything is saying moisture. It must be me instead of the charger. I'm not understanding why. I just charged my phone up 100% last night with no moisture.
Ms. Clark,
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, because
hold on 1 second. Ms. Clark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you and I'm charging. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Now we go. All right. Ms. Nguyen, any more questions? You may proceed now, Ms. Nguyen.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't believe I have any more questions at this time.
Okay. So at this point, Ms. Nguyen, you have also filed a petition after Ms. Clark filed a petition and an ex parte order was issued. And so at this point, can you let me know why you filed the petition when you did? And hold on 1 second. I see Miss Jordan is here. Miss Jordan, you need to make an announcement.
Once I started ending up for myself, not paying for things from her for her, not going out of my way, she became abusive, demanding, irate, emotionally unstable. She became physically and verbally abusive. I no longer had access to any of the amenities or the house. She wanted me to be isolated in my room. She talked to me as if I was inferior,
Okay,
as if
so
I was
I'm gonna
her
ask
pet
you to-
chihuahua that she.
I'm going to ask you to focus on acts of violence. So being rude, disrespectful, that sort of thing is bad roommate behavior, bad person behavior, but it's not necessarily acts of family violence or threats of violence. So can you tell me, when you say she became abusive, what specifically do you mean?
Yes, the incident that she became very dangerous in the stove. She would throw my stuff off the stove in the area. She pushed me. She kicked me. She like pulled my hair. She forcefully pushed me off the bed. And this all happened like she was dressed up to go out, again, trying to impress me or what have you. And then I called the cops, but if you look at the records, if I provided that information, the cops were called without her knowledge. Once she was aware that I called the cops because she started to assault me in that moment, I just called the cops in that moment, and you can hear her just yelling in the background, belittling me, assaulting me. And then they came to the residence, and that's the initial time where I told them that she was, stealing from me, assaulting me. And those were the initial acts of violence where I provided.
So around what date was this?
This date was around Mother's Day, because she had researched me, and she had said foul things about my children, about whatever she had found out about me, saying that I lied, that I was previously assaulted, which unfortunately I was, and she followed suit as well. And I just allowed the abuse to continue because I always felt if I retaliated, I had no grounds to stand on. So I just let her vent and use me as a punching bag. And
okay, have you submitted any evidence that you want the court to consider?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
I did
what is
submit
that?
I submitted evidence of her pushing me off the bed, removing the bed from me, which I had purchased. I didn't bring anything in there because she had started stealing from me. And then the items that I did leave in there, she stole those as well when I was being treated by the EMS, because after I had been assaulted from a roommate that had sexually assaulted me and produced children, thank you, okay, she assaulted me. She like these people. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to gather myself, Your Honor.
Okay,
So
so what evidence is it that you said you want me to look at?
I had provided evidence of her pushing me. I also have other evidence of
What
her,
is
like
that evidence of her pushing you?
she is pushing me off, like pushing me, like, you know, kicking me, yelling at me.
Is it
Here
a
is her.
video?
It's I did attach a video, and
Okay, so is that there may, I don't, when did you send that in?
I sent that in. I believe I submitted. If I didn't submit this in today, it may not have been submitted within the 24 hours, because I had another case that I had responded to. So all that evidence where my petition was granted, my ex parte hearing was granted, I had submitted the appropriate information.
So when did you submit that?
I had submitted that the day after I had spoken to the judge, I believe. I
So
gathered
Madam
some
Clerk, do we
information.
have any evidence in this case from that?
Judge, I'm not showing a video. I am showing like a picture collage.
Okay. There's a picture collage. There's no video that has been submitted that they've received.
So the pictures, you can see where Miss LeClaire Clark, she had punched me. She had pulled out my hair. She had like jumped on my back. She had went for knives. The incidents where we're talking about her phone, I grabbed my phone. Everything had dropped, my wallet, everything that was in my hand. She just surprised attacked me. And I called the police. And if you can see of all the police records, I have been the one calling the police. Anytime there's never been a time. Well, I didn't look at the police open records or anything like that. So I didn't cross-examine her and say, has she ever called the police? Because I didn't have any records stating that she did not. But I have been the one calling for help, claiming that I'm abused. I have been robbed. I have been wronged. I have been scammed. I have been swindled. I have been in this unsafe situation. Because I have seen injustice where at a blink of a time they can have you out on the street, they can take everything from you. And she started talking to me as if I was inferior. She didn't know I owned homes. They didn't know I owned cars. She didn't know anything about me.
So let me ask
she
you
just
this:
started,
how long did this start after you moved into the residence?
well, right, very, very quickly. So like how I mentioned in April, where she didn't want to mention that she had pushed herself onto me, but I'm not. She yelled at me because I'm not sexually active, which I'm not. I just don't participate in like frivolous sexual escapades. I just don't do that. So she was asking me to go out. There were women that were approaching me. There were women and men, and she jealously handed me drinks and wanted me to pay and just wanted the attention, I guess, of what she considered suitors or of at that time. And I'm really not a verbal person. My voice was really hurting me. So a lot of times she was just yelling at me and I wouldn't say anything. I would just sit there while she was just blasting obscenities.
So when did the first act of violence occur?
The first act of violence, I would say it began right before I actually got everything notarized. The first act of violence and abuse and aggression presented itself then.
Began when? Right before you got everything notarized?
Right, because I wasn't going to continue because she started requesting additional, like she wanted my driver's number. She wanted additional information and was forcing me and was calling people to have like bully tactics. And I was reading in Chase, because I've also been a Chase customer. If you're in a situation where people are extracting information from you in a split second, where you don't have time to think if it's a scam or something like that, it probably is. Just be careful. So I just started to be more leery about things, and then she started to leave my door unlocked. And
so the act of violence happened before you moved in?
Before I had physically signed the lease, she had presented acts of violence to make me sign the lease, because I started to like stray away from signing because how she was treating me.
What act of violence did she do to force you to sign the lease?
She was using coercion and threats, and like like just calling me out of my name, like trying to make the scales unbalanced, make me kind of like question, you know, why I was even asking her in the first place, just make me like question myself. I guess they call it like gaslighting. So I just, you know, made me question, because I was just like, what's the odds of something bad is going to happen again in my life? And I figured maybe it is happening. So I would
How
just
long had you
really
known
use,
her at that point?
I had knew her for a few weeks.
So why did you move in?
I moved in because I was at that point I was spending thousands of dollars on hotels, and I wanted something more like, you know, stationary, something that can provide a little bit more longevity. And she said she was looking for that, and it was compatible at the time. There was a few things that I was concerned about, but I thought that I could possibly overlook, giving my present circumstances that I had found myself in. It was basically just I needed something to survive and allow my money to rest, while I was also gathering more, you know, work, because as she had mentioned about you know, me being arrested, I was forced out of a 5-star hotel in Atlanta, where I paid and had first class flights and all this stuff, because my kids are in a residence where I do not know they are being abused. They have been abused, and I contacted them when I was assaulted when I was pregnant, and they never arrested that person either. So I just had to move in a different way, because once I was misplaced from my residence, I work for myself. I wasn't actively making an income. So just because I had a surplus of money didn't mean I had to budget that money so the money could work for me, so that I wouldn't be arrested, because that's why I didn't know the address to even send any kind of form of payments, and or to have some kind of stability where I could get my children in an unsafe situation to get my cases heard in the first place. So it wasn't as if I was a bad person. I didn't assault anybody. It's just something that I have to fight in court. It's just a plight of mine. It's just a peril that I'm just trying to overcome.
Okay,
So
let's get back to this. So are you asking to return to the apartment even though she's the person on the lease and is that what you're asking?
I am asking that because I did pay in advance, and I've spent thousands of dollars on hotels to the point it's diminishing my funds, and
Okay.
the judge had granted me, you know, access there because I did pay, in the evidence that I did show and my testimony. So I just wanted a moment where I didn't have to think every day, okay, where's my next dwelling going to be? Or just, it's just very exhausting at this moment to, you know, be present every day when there's continuously like this uphill battle that I'm facing.
Okay. Madam Clerk, can you pull up the exhibit that you mentioned that may have been a collage of pictures? Just a minute. You'll have a chance in just a minute, Ms. Clark. So what is this?
This is some of the injuries that I've sustained from Ms. Clark.
All right. Can you tell me when and what those are of what we're looking at in them?
Yes, it's a accumulation of attacks. I barely had these that I had because I did grab the cell phones. If I didn't grab the cell phones at that moment, I would have had nothing, because she was trying to extract all the evidence that day because the police told me to film and record her. That's her running into the bathroom. She stole items from me. That way you see her legs, and that blue item, is that to the right or to the left? I think that's like in between her legs. That was actually me on the bed where she had pushed me off. I may actually have some footage of that, but I don't think it's admissible in court because I didn't file it the proper way. But she forcefully pushed me off the bed. I've never put my hands on her. She like, as you can see, my hands, I'm begging her to get out of the room, to leave me alone. She busts into the room. As you can see, I don't know if I'm enlarging it. Her dog is there. She had her dog there. She's yelling obscenities. This is me waking up. Again, I'm in a very non-threatening form. And again, I've always felt like I had to conform to society. Like, even if she mentioned me being transgender enough, I'm not a threat to anyone. I don't hassle, but I've had to deal with racism, like I said, and it can be used if people don't know the entire story. So I did I did just stay in that situation.
Okay, we can take this down, Madam Clerk. Thank you. So what about that, where she alleged that you kicked her down the stairs? You mentioned in your questions to her that she provoked you into physical altercations. It sounds like that could have gone both ways at times from what your questions were and what she testified to. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm glad you clarified that because it's the way that I spoke. So what I'm saying is she would push me. I'm not saying that it provoked me to push her back. I did not. I constantly allowed her to push me, which gave her cause and reason to feel as if I was not going to ever put my hands on her, which I did not have any intent to put my hands on her. I don't hit women. That's not what I do. When she attacked me, I don't know. I don't know if that's what women do. She just pulled my hair. She's just punching me and I'm allowing her to do this. She's literally on my back. She's literally on my person while this is happening. And, like she's bending my fingers. I don't even have mobility in my fingers. She was scratching my hands. She was prying my car keys out of my hand. Just numerous things that she was doing, and she just wanted to fight. She just wanted. I've dealt with females, and usually that's a sign she just wants to get out that aggression, whether it be sexual, physical. She just had a lot of pent up energy, and she just exerted it on me. So I never.
So tell me this: what about when she ran next door to the neighbor?
I was running out. I was leaving I was gone. I left the house to call the police. I phoned the police. I called the police. I had the EMS, and they told me my heart was elevated. I also included notes from my treating doctor. I had to get a CAT scan. I had to get my hand x-rayed. I had to have pain medicine. I had to have ice because she was just like choking me on my neck. She was just huddle. She just wanted to just be all on me, scratching me, everything.
All right. Okay. So is there anything else you want the court to know about what you have alleged and what's been alleged against you?
I do, yes, Your Honor. I do want the courts to know that she has been painting me in an ill light. I am like, shy to speak because of what society may perceive, but I again, she wanted me in her home, but it was the importance of where she wanted to take things from me. Also, I don't know, I'm just like a little distracted while I'm like watching.
Okay, so this is the chance where Miss Clark will have a chance to ask me some questions about what Miss Nguyen has testified to. So Miss Clark, do you have a few questions that you would like me to ask? Remember, this is not testimony. This is just to ask specific questions.
I sure do.
Okay, go ahead. What's the first question you would like me to ask?
The first question is going to be, did DeKalb County Judge Yolanda Barker Smith declare her mentally unstable?
All right, her question is, when would this have been?
I'm here with a sealed letter from DeKalb County, right here.
So it has to be submitted into evidence for me to consider it ahead of time, like it said on your notice. So what is the date? Just tell me what.
The date is February 22nd, 2022.
Okay, so that was over a year ago. So ma'am, the question is just, I guess, as to the competence of the testimony, have you been declared mentally incompetent at some point?
To answer your question, Your Honor, Judge Yolanda cannot declare me. I was a pro se at the time when I was being harassed. My children had just been victims of sexual abuse. DeKalb County had failed us on all fronts. I had called them when I was pregnant and I was a victim of violence. They didn't offer resources like the women's resources or TPOs. Again, me being, people trying to dig up dead bones or have me pay debts that I didn't even do. Like I had to sit there and take the abuse, if I should say, from Michael Wynn, whoever she wanted to get these open public records from. Anybody can see. I have pictures and I have incident reports, and now he has, you know, we're
So
waiting
I
for
understand
arrest.
that. We're going too far into something. So just are you currently under any mental health treatment?
No, and I also for me to be even, like you said, on testosterone, I have to be mentally clear. So what people want to say, if Michael want to say my kids are confused about me being transgender, that's a personal problem. My kids will probably also be confused to know that they're conceived from rape and I was
Okay,
intoxicated.
we don't need to go
and
into
assaulted.
that's not what's before the court. But I understand you're saying that's some of the background. Okay, hold on, Ms. Clark. All right, Ms. Clark, what is your next question? You're muted.
All I wanted to know, I'm sorry, was did the judge have concerns about Ms. Wynn's mental health and stability as she stated in this when she lost her kids last year?
Okay, I'm not going to go into why she lost her kids. If she's
No, I'm just stating that she has a mental health issue.
I understand
also,
that. And you've asked that question and she has said that she was before the court based on different allegations. So there were some, so Ms. Wynn, there were some, back in 2022, there were some concerns expressed by a judge regarding mental health status. Is that correct?
The judge had expressed
Just answer
concerns
yes
because
or
I
no
was,
first, and then you can explain.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, all right. And that I'll determine how much weight that is given. But
Right,
go
because
ahead.
mental health could be the abuse that Lakia Clark was saying, calling me peculiar, bull dagger, you know,
I understand. Okay, Ms. Clark, do you have another question?
I do.
Go ahead.
Did we ever discuss her having children? Because I never knew she had kids until after she left the home. So she's stating about her children and stuff. Did we ever discuss her family or children? Did I know that she was married or had children prior to 6/2?
I can't ask what you knew, but did y'all ever have a discussion about your children, ma'am, prior to 6/2?
Yes, because she was saying, she was talking about my kids being mixed with Asian and talking about their eyes and doing a lot of things to incite riot, saying that's why my husband beat me and I made all these allegations, talking very, very, and nobody should have to sustain that kind of talk about kids that she doesn't even know anything about. But like I said, these are open records.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Yeah, all right. So next question, ma'am.
Next question is going to be, do you have a record of each of your last 2 addresses? You put cases on each person, yes or no?
Have you filed against against people who reside in the past 2 residents you've been at, Ms. Wynn?
The past 2 residents? I've lived a few places. I mean,
the past 2 residences you've been at, have you filed something, a civil case against either of those past 2 residences?
I mean, the past 2 can be since I was from 2. She can, I mean, I don't have.
The 2 places you lived before the one you were at
prior
in this case.
Not directly prior. Not directly prior. I've lived other places, but you know, if she wanted to get every record that I've ever filed the TPO of people, because I have a record of allowing people to abuse me. You want to listen to the records, so.
Okay. All right, Miss Clark.
Did you claim that the last residence that you lived in Austell, the person that you were on the lease, did you claim abuse and that she stole your property and the same things that you're claiming against me?
So did you claim the same thing against where you were living in Austell against the people you were living with there that you are claiming in this case?
Again, these are federal investigations because it was lost in the mail. So with the United Postal Services, their investigation. So
my question is the question was, did you file and claim the same thing against the people in Austell? Yes or no?
Have people known that I had money and stole from me? Yes, I have.
Did you, ma'am, did you file a petition claiming the same things against people in Austell that were residing with?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. You can always explain afterwards, but you got to answer the questions. Yes, no, or I don't know. All right, next question.
Do you have a history of family violence within the last 3 years?
Okay, I'm not gonna allow that question unless it's with you and you have personal knowledge of it. So
I
Ms.
do have
Clark,
personal knowledge of it.
were you involved? You were there to witness it?
Oh, no, I wasn't there to
Okay,
witness it, but,
then I'm not gonna allow that question.
okay. Can I go with the next question?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you arrested a month before moving in with me?
Unless you were involved, that also is not relevant.
Okay. Are those pictures that you just shown with those, did you do that to yourself? Are they fake? Because they're not on any of these agreements right here from when the police came to the house. Did the police tell you that those were old and that you were making them up? Yes or no?
All right, did the police tell you the pictures were old and you were making them up, Miss Nguyen?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
Why do you want to move in with a place? Why would you want to come back to someone who abused you and did all these things to you?
All right, why? And I think that's already been asked in a different way, but why are you going back if the residence was such a bad
Horrible.
living circumstance?
Yeah, she's asking why I'm seeking justice for myself. The same reason why I'm fighting for my children. I'm fighting because just like I said, just how she's in her home, just how I lost, hundreds of thousands, $100,000 in that home. That was a brand new home indicator, newer than her home. She's trying to compare and say all these things, or cars that I didn't have that I paid cash for. You don't even know anything about me. You want to focus on the negative things and nothing that I've done for myself, working for myself, things of that nature. I want to return because I paid for that. Or with the civil hearing, you can return my funds. I don't even know your financial situation.
So this is not the place to get damages for breach of contract or anything like that. This is just intervention family violence.
Yes, Your Honor. It's because I paid. I paid to be at the residence, and there's no reason why I should have to be attacked. There's no reason why I have to be victimized. There's no reason why my belongings have to be stolen. There's no reason why I have to face homelessness or live outside, because I did everything right. So I have to file within the courts. I have to have somebody try to dig up bones while we're on live. Anybody can watch this. That's why anybody can look up my name. That's why I do what I do, because what am I going to do? Allow somebody like this to get me shot by the police? Or these things are circulating in our community. I've been around people who are advocates for community, disenfranchised people, marginalized people. I don't wish to put anybody in a situation, but I'm not going to allow somebody to victimize me or talk about my children that they have no knowledge of. And that's where she continues to overstep her boundaries and doesn't realize we just have a rental agreement. Or if she wanted me to help her with things with her job and filling up her tank and running errands with her and helping her out, that's out of the kindness of my heart. No way is that weakness, and no way do I feel like I shouldn't be compensated or reimbursed or upheld with what I paid for. She doesn't get to just assault me. She doesn't get to talk about my children. She doesn't get to talk about
I'm going to need you to bring it down a little bit. I understand these are very difficult, but this is not the time to yell and scream. It is the time to politely, civilly, as best as possible, answer the questions. So this is about intervention of family violence. Do you have any more questions, Ms. Clark?
She stated several times we don't know each other. Do we know each other?
I think she's already answered. I'm not sure. I don't understand that question because hold on. What was testified to is y'all met on Craigslist, and then there was a lease, and then they lived together for a period of time. All right.
Okay.
What I mean by no, is there anything different than you mean by did you know each other?
Meaning she keeps saying that I talked about her children, but I never knew this girl. I never knew she had children until she left, and I started looking up her record.
I think she's saying you're talking about them now. Okay, so I understand what you're saying. You'll have your chance to testify.
So my next question is the room agreement that she signed, is it month to month with a 30-day written notice to vacate?
That's not relevant to whether there's acts of family violence at this point. That's relevant to a breach of contract or an eviction.
Okay. Did she kick me down the steps?
All right. What about, did you kick her down the steps?
No, Your Honor.
how did she end up at the bottom of the steps?
When was she at the bottom of the steps? Did I submit pictures of her kicking me and her pushing me down the steps?
So your testimony, she's making all of this up.
She attacked me, yes, Your Honor. And I didn't even believe that she would attack me, you know? I didn't even believe that she could attack me. For the remainder of the time, I'm having to hold this girl off of me from attacking me. She's like literally attacking me. What made her feel like when I stopped, like she just felt like she couldn't overpower me, but that's none of her business if I try to overpower me. She doesn't have to try me in that manner. Like that's what she wanted to do. So I don't know. Well, and I asked her, is she bipolar? What kind of psychosis she's dealing with? Because why would somebody wake up in the morning, want to call somebody names who already gave you money, who is being nice to you? I filled up her tank, $50 gas, buying her this. She yells at me when wants to get groceries, saying I'm supposed to be the man. I'm not. I didn't know I was signed up to be in a relationship with her. She was saying I was her girlfriend. I don't even adhere to those terms, or I didn't agree to anything outside of anything like that.
All right. Any other questions, Ms. Clark?
Let me make sure. So she said she does not have any family violence, which she's not telling the truth about.
And to answer your question, like I said, you don't know me. I'm a victim of abuse. I was put into the system.
So hold on, we're not going to just start offering. Stop. No, everybody. When I speak, please do not speak over me. We're still in court. These are formal proceedings. You've each had a full chance to testify. I understand what you've said, Ms. Nguyen, but there's also allegations that you have also been violent, and that's where I'm trying to figure out from both sides right now. And so, Ms. Clark, do you have any more questions?
Yes.
Okay,
Did she
go
threaten
ahead.
to shoot me with my brothers at the house?
Was her brother there when you allegedly threatened to shoot her?
No, Your Honor, and I should have asked her that she submitted any evidence, because I don't know if you're the same judge that she was actually granted the parte, because I was actually surprised.
I'm not, and it doesn't matter. We do it on testimony. Hold on. Sworn testimony at the time of the ex parte hearing and how it happens. And then there's an opportunity for both sides to submit evidence. Right now, you have instructions on how to submit evidence, and I don't look at evidence unless and until it's brought into this hearing while we're having right now. Okay, so what's been presented is what I'm looking at. That's the only thing I've seen in this case. All right, go ahead, Ms. Clark. Do you have any other questions?
She didn't answer if she threatened to shoot me or not.
I think she said no.
Oh, okay. No other questions. This process is a little confusing. I went through the Women's Advocate Center I didn't even get a thing about submitting any evidence or any of that. This whole
Okay, it's on page 6 of the order that you get emailed.
Okay.
I looked at the order on page 6. Where
okay,
same place where the
that's
virtual. So hold on, y'all. The same place as the virtual notice. There's 2 pages at the end. It also says how to submit evidence ahead of time. It should be submitted 24 hours ahead of time. It's the same notice as the Zoom link. And it's part of the ex parte order. So if you have the ex parte order with the date on it, the back of the order has all that information.
Okay. Well, I read the order, and like I said, it's a confusing process. I actually put in days before. I called crying and boohoo crying, going up to the courthouse, boohoo crying about this. And that's when Miss Ayana did it for me. She can testify how distraught I was.
Now,
So
I understand. You can testify how distraught you were. Okay, I hear what you're saying. And I know this is a difficult process for people.
To the court.
I know this is a difficult process for people not familiar with the process, but I am limited by the law and the rules of evidence, even though we are pro se and not represented by attorneys here. Okay. So, all right.
Yes, Your Honor.
based on everything I've heard, I do have concerns that if an order is not issued, there will be violence in the future between the parties. Based on the testimony, facts testified to by each side, evidence presented, and the particularities of the testimony, I am going to do something I don't normally do, but I have concerns in this case, given what I've heard from everyone. So I'm going to grant both orders. But the first order, 23 PO 5137, Lakia Clark versus Samaria Nguyen, that order, both orders will be in effect for 12 months. The other party cannot have any contact with the other party at all. Not direct, not indirect, not through text, email, calls, anything. Ms. Clark will be awarded the sole and exclusive possession of the residence. You cannot go back there, Ms. Nguyen. You cannot contact her or come within 100 yards of her, except you will be given one time only to be arranged in advance with law enforcement on or before July 15th to go with, and the number will be on your order, to retrieve your remaining personal belongings. Okay? Before that time, the parties are not to destroy either the joint property of the parties or either petitioner's property. All right, and not cancel any of the utilities or anything like that. I'm not going to order the Family Violence Intervention Program because it sounds like there was no intimate relationship here. There is no familial relationship, and there is no reason that the parties should have any future contact, no kids, nothing. So I'm not going to order the Family Violence Intervention Program, but while this order is in effect, neither party can possess a firearm under federal law, under each order. All right, so Ms. Clark, your order will say that Ms. Nguyen has a chance, when arranged in advance with law enforcement, escorted by law enforcement, to get her personal belongings by July 15th. Ms. Nguyen, your order will say that you will have an opportunity to, same thing, one trip only, to arrange by July 15th of 2023 to get your personal belongings. Okay? There's not going to be a compliance date because you will not be doing the Family Violence Intervention Program. You just need to stay away from each other, except for that one trip arranged by law enforcement and escorted by law enforcement. You will each get a copy of the order awarding in your case, and in the other case, to get a copy of the order against you, you will need to reach out to the clerk's office in a day or so, and they will get you a copy of that order. Okay? Thank you both. I know this has been a lot in a very difficult situation, and I hope things go smoother in the future.
She's